Let's talk about Parham. I was going to bring him up next. He was a third round draft pick in 2022. He came in, to me, he had a super underrated season. You know, the Raiders offensive line took a beating um in the media, but they also blocked for the NFL leading rusher. They weren't bad. Let's not pretend like they were bad. There were times, especially in pass protection, they were not good, but as a unit, they were not bad. I remember saying before the year, and a couple of the Raiders offensive linemen mentioned it to me before the season and after, appreciated that I went out on a line. And I said, if the Raiders don't have a good year in 2022, the reason's not going to be the offensive line. And it wasn't. Parham played really well. I think they see him, and I agree. He is that building block next to Colton Miller. I think the left side of the Raiders offensive line is going to be set for a few years. But let's talk about Parham. I think he had an underrated rookie year, and I think you had a lot of respect for him as well.
I did, and again, when you are taking a lineman on day two, an interior lineman on day two, that's kind of like the sweet spot for interior linemen. I feel like there's always maybe one or two that go in the first round, but most of the better ones go at some point in the second or third round. So that's where you're hoping to find a guy who's a long term answer at one of those spots. You're hoping to find somebody who can start and be counted on and can maybe get a second contract beyond that 4 years of a rookie deal. And I think that it was a solid start, like you said, to Dylan Parham's career last year. And I think that they're hoping, the Raiders, that he becomes a guy that you can count on and build around, because then you have the entire left side of your line shored up, because you have Colton Miller at tackle and Parham at left guard. And now you can kind of build out around the other positions, and the blind side's taken care of. So he is a critical piece in 2023 and beyond, his development for Las Vegas.
Now let's talk about Hunter Renfrow. This is a guy that I expect. I was the first one to break the story that I was hearing about calls being made for Hunter. I also was the first one to break that I didn't think the Raiders wanted to move him, but I'm now telling you I expect him to be gone sometime after June 1st. I'm not saying it's imminent. I'm not saying there's already a trade partner lined up. I'm just saying I expect him to be gone, not and I'll get into all my reasons why after he is gone. There's no sense getting into it now. It's not necessary. But I will get into all of it if he is. But this is a guy, he's an all-pro wide receiver. This is a guy that can do a lot of things in the slot. I think, though, with Jacoby Myers and with Devontae, you want maybe a little more speed. But this is a guy that can do a lot. I mean, he's an ex-all-pro. He's a building block. And I said I didn't think the Raiders wanted to get rid of him. I want to make sure that's clear. But this is a guy that could be a building block. We already know what he can do, but again, I expect him gone post June 1st. Your thoughts?
Well, maybe that speed element is why the Raiders picked Trey Tucker when they did, a couple weeks ago. So that maybe that's an added element in the slot there, like you said. Going back to Renfro, I think he is going off the assumption now that he does get moved, which you're saying you're expecting. I think he's a really nice trade target for another team that is, a team that's built to win and is looking for that complementary piece at receiver, because you know what you're getting from him. He's going to run great routes. He's going to be dependable to get open. He's going to catch the ball. He's got great hands. He's going to move the chains. He's physically, you don't look at him and say, wow, this guy's a freak of nature, but he's a better athlete than he looks. And he's just produced from the time he found the field at Clemson, where nobody really knew who he was. Catching game-winning touchdown in the national championship game. From that point on, he's produced every single place he's been. He's produced, and I think that that's why he could be a potential building block for a team. And if the Raiders do choose to move on from him, or do move on from him, like you said, they will. I think he'd be an excellent pickup for
For anybody.
a team. Anybody's looking for that option in the slot to be reliable.
I'm going to tell you, great guy.
Uh-huh.
He's a wonderful human being. I mean, he's a great football player, but he's a great person. And I also want to make it clear, there's no hatred. The Raiders, I think, would be pleased if he's here. And I want to make it clear. I'm not trying to say there's any hatred, there's
Right.
any malice. I'll get into all of it if he is moved, which I expect him to be, but I'll get into all that later.